I've been seeing a bunch of lists ranking the best superhero movies of the 2020s, and trust me, we gonna get to that. But first, you know we gotta get the worst out the way, right? Right? So let's talk about the worst superhero movies to drop in the 2020s, and it gets bad real quick. First though, I'm gonna give a quick honorable mention to the movie that started all the superhero shitty movie memes, Morbius. It's Morbid time, motherfuckers. The reason that this is an honorable mention for me and not on the list, trust me, if I saw this movie, it would be on the list. But I never fully saw Morbius. Maybe because it was boring. Maybe it's because it's Jared Leto and I don't really mess with the dog. Maybe it's because I just wasn't interested in this character or anything that Sony does, unless it's Spider-Man, of course. I don't know, man. I wasn't called to this movie before the memes. I wasn't called to it after the memes, but trust me, I've seen scenes. I have seen scenes, and it's horseshit. This had to be on the list. It had to get a mention at least. Now let's talk about a movie that, if we're being honest, it could potentially not even be on this list, but because of the impact that it had to be on this list. At number 5, I got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I feel like I've talked about this movie ad nauseum at this point. It's just so disappointing what they decided to go with for the first introduction of Kang's character. I know this wasn't the first time we saw him, but this was the first time we got to see him in a full feature-length film, and they did him so horrible. The only good part about him was in the trailers they had people going, him, or you have to deal with him. Like, shit like that was cool, but then you got into the movie and it was like, bro, can they just talk about the nigga? Just say his name. Did all that build up for him to lose to a goddamn pile of ants, bro. And then Kevin Feige goes and says, we knew that Kang was never gonna be Thanos. When you have him lose to ants, duh! That nigga Thanos pieced up Hulk the first time we saw him. Versus Kang losing to Ant-Man. You gotta be kidding me. A gag character? I know he's not a gag character, but y'all get what I'm saying. This nigga Ant-Man be making jokes. Hulk be throwing hands and he got his ass whooped by Thanos. Like, you guys clearly had a different level of care for the characters. I'm just putting it out there. It's a goddamn shame too. The trailers for this movie had me hyped for it. I was genuinely like, whew, Marvel's about to put something crazy together for this Ant-Man movie. I have never been that hyped for an Ant-Man movie, and I will never get that hyped for an Ant-Man movie again. Simple. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I'm sorry, bro. You're one of the best actors in the modern day, but you're also in one of the worst movies in the modern day because Kraven the Hunter sucks. There's genuinely zero redeemable qualities whatsoever about this movie other than Aaron Taylor Johnson trying his hardest with the material that he was given. But when you get sandpaper when you're trying to build a house, you're cooked. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if that was legit or not. But what I do know is Sony put out one of the most generic superhero movies of all time and expected us to eat this up like we're a crack baby in the 80s. Shit makes no sense. Everything from the dialogue, the boring action scenes. There's a couple decent action sequences, but yeah, man, I don't remember a single character's name in this movie other than Aaron Taylor Johnson, and that's because he was Kraven, and he's a big actor outside of this, you know what I'm saying? This movie was just an all-around failure, and it's the reason why Sony said, yeah, that's our fault. That's our bad. We gotta wipe our hands clean with these shitty movies. I really hope they don't try to make these villain movies anymore, bro. Like, please give it a break. You guys can't have your own universe. You're just not good at it. Why was this movie made? Like, seriously, why was this movie made? In all seriousness, I know why this movie was made. Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, was the most popular character to come out of the Suicide Squad, so it made sense for them to give her her own project, but Birds of Prey? What was the DCEU thinking, bro? Right now, we're currently in the midst of one of the greatest superhero runs of all time. I mean, Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Superman, and then Fantastic Four. Well, DC was in the midst of one of the worst superhero runs of all time back then with Birds of Prey, Black Adam, and Wonder Woman 1984 back to back to back. They did have Peacemaker and Suicide Squad come out, so that evened out things a little bit. Same with Zack Snyder's Justice League, but this doesn't excuse how bad this movie was. They were literally just trying to use the popularity of Margot Robbie to try to get something going for the DC, to try to make some type of money, and they just ended up making one of the worst films of the 2020s. This is one of those movies that I always think to myself, oh wait, it came out in 2020. This was COVID times. Maybe that's why it was so bad. Nah. This movie came out in February 2020. We weren't even in lockdown yet. So that means it was filmed the year before, maybe even a little bit before that. No. There's no excuse for how ass this movie is. To the devil though, Wonder Woman 1984 is back on a list. What do you know? Every time I talk about this movie, it's just me shitting on it. Because if I'm being honest, I don't remember that much good things from it. Other than the fact that we're getting to see Wonder Woman go from the 40s era to the 80s era, which was cool. And then we were eventually probably going to see her get to the present and get a third movie if this movie was good. That was a cool idea, but the execution of said idea, horrible. I do feel like this is when Gal Gadot was the furthest away from her bag. I'm not gonna lie. She was clearly phoning it in a tad bit. She just wanted that check, that Wonder Woman money on. Pedro Pascal, he wasn't really doing for me in this role. Cheetah, and everything about this movie was just Plus the whole bringing of Chris Prime back in a different body. We don't even gotta get into that, bro. I don't even want to get into that. But this is the movie where DC completely shot their feet off. Didn't even just shoot themselves in the foot, shot them off. Because after this is when fans were like, yeah, the DCEU is cooked. That has nothing on the worst movie of the 2020s comic book wise, and hell, maybe even just regular movie wise, Madame Web. The movie was so bad Dakota Johnson was trying to write the movie off her damn self. That's insane. The way this movie's shot is bad, the story is god awful. I just don't care whatsoever about the characters. They don't even suit up in their spider suits until damn near the end of the movie. Connection between the three Spider Girls just never felt real to me, just never felt legit. It all felt so forced. I don't know, man. Sometimes it just felt like they were acting in a movie and they knew this movie wasn't going to make a lot of money and it wasn't going to get critically receptive well. I don't know. It might just be me, though. But since this was another one of those Sony movies and people already know those movies suck, I don't think this movie's going to ruin anybody's career. I mean, Sydney Sweeney is in a bunch of stuff. Isabella Merced was literally just in Superman. I think they're going to be fine. But I'm going to be honest. If they ever, and I mean ever, want to touch the Madame Web character like Marvel, if you want to touch that and bring it into the MCU, you're gonna have to wait like 20 years, gang. I can't hold you. Yeah, man, that's my list of the worst superhero movies of the 2020s. How y'all feeling about this list? I think this list was 100% zero misses, just maybe depending on the order. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm trying to see y'all's list, your opinions, and more in the comments down below, because you know we gotta talk about this, man. Simple. And be on the lookout for that top 10 superhero movies of the 2020s.